Imagine standing at a lonely train depot, the tracks stretching out like infinite lines, disappearing into the horizon, the wooden bench beneath you creaking with every shift, and the clock overhead ticking louder than your own heartbeat. That was Clara's reality as she sat in her pale blue dress, clutching an old leather-bound journal, her eyes scanning the tracks for someone who never came. People passed through, families greeting soldiers, businessmen stepping off polished locomotives, but Clara remained seated, waiting. The townsfolk whispered that she was waiting for a man who'd left decades ago, a man she swore would return because of a promise written in the margins of her journal. But today something shifted, because as the sun dipped low and the air turned gold, a shadow fell across her face. It wasn't the man she expected, but a cowboy with weathered boots, a tilted hat, and eyes so piercing they seemed to carry galaxies. He said only one line, a sentence that struck through the air like thunder. "If no one else comes, then I'll be the one who did." The crowd froze. Clara's chest tightened. Those words weren't casual. They were identical to the words she had written in her journal years ago, in handwriting not her own. From the start, you feel that pull, mystery, destiny, the threads of reality weaving together in ways that science has only begun to glimpse. What if quantum physics is right, and consciousness leaves traces across timelines, creating echoes? Clara wasn't just waiting for a person, she was waiting for an alignment, for the collapsing of possibilities into one chosen reality. This cowboy was either a stranger with uncanny timing or the manifestation of a choice she had made long ago. And here, before I carry you deeper, if stories like this make your heart race and your mind spin with curiosity, don't forget to hit subscribe, because the journey we're stepping into will stretch far beyond this depot, into science, soul, and the universal truths that tie us all together. The cowboy sat down beside Clara without asking, his spurs softly clinking, his voice calm as if he already knew her. He asked nothing about why she waited, only gazed toward the horizon, where the rails shimmered like liquid silver. Clara finally opened her journal, showing him pages filled with equations, sketches of stars, notes on dreams she could not explain. These weren't ordinary musings. They were patterns of wave functions, scrawled as if she had pulled them from another dimension in her sleep. She explained how her father, a physicist who vanished when she was 10, had told her that reality was like a quantum field, possibilities existing all at once, collapsing only when observed. She believed he was lost not to death, but to a fold in time itself. Her waiting wasn't madness. It was faith that one day the right observer, the right collapse of probability, would bring him, or someone tied to him, back. The cowboy listened without judgment, his eyes glowing faintly under the depot's lantern light, as though he too carried a secret. "Ever wonder," he said slowly, "why dreams feel realer than daylight sometimes? Why you meet people in them who seem to know you better than anyone here?" Clara's breath hitched. How did he know the exact question she had written years ago in her journal's margins? And here's where the science bends into mystery. Quantum entanglement suggests that two particles, once connected, remain linked across distance and time, shifting together no matter how far apart. What if human souls carry a similar entanglement? Clara began to see that her waiting was not wasted, but a kind of experiment, her consciousness entangled with someone else's, and the cowboy might just be the proof. As trains came and left, reality itself began to hum around them, the night sky over the depot flickering as if the stars themselves were blinking codes. The cowboy leaned closer. "This place isn't just a station, Clara, it's a crossing point." And suddenly she felt both fear and wonder, because maybe she hadn't been waiting for her father at all. The crossing and the hidden truths of consciousness. The next morning, the depot looked different. Colors seemed brighter, sounds sharper, and Clara realized that the cowboy had led her through a threshold she hadn't even noticed. He spoke of layers of reality, how every choice branched into endless worlds, and some rare places like this depot acted as gateways between them. Clara's journal, he revealed, was more than paper and ink. It was a receiver, attuned by her father's energy, carrying imprints from across realities. He told her something that broke and healed her all at once. Your father isn't gone. He's walking another track, waiting for the moment your consciousness aligns with his. Clara wept, not out of grief, but from the overwhelming realization that love, real, conscious love, could ripple across time and space. And this is where the science meets the spirit. Neuroscientists have studied how consciousness may not simply emerge from the brain, but interact with a field beyond it. Think of it like a radio, your body the receiver, your soul the signal. Clara's waiting had been her tuning, her focus holding her to the right frequency until the cowboy arrived to shift her dial. They walked beyond the depot, through a shimmering doorway only they could see, stepping into landscapes that bent logic, deserts folding into oceans, skies turning inside out, constellations rearranging into words. Each vision was a lesson, that every soul carries infinite potential, that time is not a line but a circle, and that waiting itself is sometimes the greatest act of creation. The cowboy confessed that he was not a man in the usual sense, but a fragment, an embodiment of a promise Clara's own heart had made long ago, shaped into form so she wouldn't have to wait alone. He was, in essence, her possibility given flesh. Clara felt the ground hum beneath her boots as the shimmering tracks stretched into infinity, glowing with a light that was not just physical but alive, as if each rail carried the pulse of the universe itself. And standing in that otherworldly glow was the vision of her father, older, gentler, his eyes mirroring hers, holding the same leather-bound journal but worn differently, as though it had walked through timelines she had never touched. And the sight shattered her heart into both pain and wonder, because she realized he was never truly gone, but waiting in a parallel stream of existence. They could not embrace. Their hands passed through each other like ripples on water. Yet the connection was stronger than touch, for it was consciousness to consciousness, soul to soul. And her father's voice entered her not through ears, but directly through her being, telling her she had done what few dare to do, wait with faith, hold the thread of possibility until it became a doorway, and that she had inherited not just his science, but his courage to peer into the unknown. For consciousness, he said, is not created by the brain, but is the very field that shapes reality, the observer behind every atom, the universe watching itself. And in that moment, Clara understood that the cowboy had been right. This was not a station for trains, but a crossing for worlds, a place where choice collapses infinite probabilities into one living truth. And as the cowboy stepped forward, tipping his hat in solemn reverence, his form flickered, revealing what she had secretly feared, yet also longed to know, that he was not merely a man, but the embodiment of her own unspoken promise, her possibility woven into flesh, so she would not wait alone. And now that the choice had come, he asked her with a voice carrying both challenge and tenderness, "Clara, will you keep waiting for others to arrive, or will you become the one who did?" And those words echoed through her, like thunder rolling across eternity, shaking her from the comfort of waiting into the fire of decision. For she saw that the entire depot, the glowing tracks, even her father's vision, were not external miracles, but reflections of her own consciousness, stretching out and folding back in, testing if she was ready to act. And she knew at last that waiting had carried her far, but action would carry her further. So with trembling hands she closed her journal, pressing it to her chest for the last time, whispered with steady voice, "Then I'll be the one who did." And as the words left her lips, the universe itself seemed to bow, the depot dissolving into pure light, the cowboy fading with a proud smile, as though returning into her own soul, the tracks exploding outward into endless radiant paths, each one a reality awaiting her step. And Clara walked forward, not as a woman bound by loss, but as a creator, an observer, a conscious spark shaping the infinite. And this, dear listener, is where the story turns back to you. Because what possibilities lie unwritten in your own journal? What choices wait at the depot of your life? And how long will you wait before becoming the one who did? If this story touched something inside you, whether a spark of wonder, a tear of recognition, or a sudden curiosity about what lies beyond the ordinary, then don't let it fade away. Carry it forward, share it, and make sure to hit subscribe. Because here we explore not just stories, but maps of the soul. Reminders that you are more than a passenger on the tracks. You are the observer who can shape where they lead. The dreamer who can collapse possibility into destiny. And like Clara, you too can step into the universal answer.